Hi, I'm Andrew, and I'm with Envy Board Gaming, and today I'm continuing my top 100 games of all time. Today, I am going to be going over my next 25, which is going to be 75 through 51. And then after that, Samantha is going to join me for the remainder of those videos until we get to the top 10, when then the whole crew is going to come together. It'll be myself, Nick, Vic, and Samantha all doing our top 10 games of all time. So, without wasting any more time, I will just jump right into this with my number 75. My number 75 is a brand new game this year, one that I have played a ton of, one that I have had the honor and privilege of even being able to volunteer and teach at Gen Con, and that is Kabuto Sumo. And I'll tell you, this game is so fun. I originally had gotten this game because my now 5-year-old has always been interested or loves or fascinated by insects, and this is a great game where he can learn about them, and you're pushing these little wooden discs around the board trying to knock the other person's insect off of it, and they each have their own little special abilities and unique pieces. Such a fun game. This is a game that when you take it out, you're going to want to play it over and over and over again. Kabuto Sumo, my number 75. Definitely go check that one out. My number 74 is a flip and write game. I'm not sure if this is... No, it's not. Okay. So, this is one of my favorite flip and write games. Not sure if it's my ultimate favorite flip and write game. You might have to keep watching to see if any others pop up. But that is Welcome To. I really like Welcome To, where you're kind of building up your own little subdivision, and you're trying to build parks and put pools in these different houses, and you have to be really careful to build the fences just right to be able to score the cards. But I also like just the variations that come with this game. You have the zombies, you have the doomsday, you have the Easter eggs, you have the Christmas lights and the ice cream and the Halloween one. And so they have so many great little versions of this game, and it fits in a tight little box. It's such a great game that it goes over so well with new gamers that I play with. So my number 74 is Welcome To. Number 73 is a game that I got because I saw it on the Dice Tower, and I believe Tom Vassell had called it a Splendor Killer, and that is Majesty for the Realm. Now this one didn't kill Splendor for me, but I did see some reasons why people might think it was going to be. But this is a great little game where, again, you're going to have a row of cards that you are going to be either taking the free one on the furthest left, or you're going to be spending these little meeple in order to get ones further down the row. And depending on, you're going to have knights, you're going to have like guards, you're going to have witches, you're going to have an innkeeper, you're going to have like these brewers, and all these different, you're going to have like, I think there's like the queens, if I remember right. But anyway, depending on the combination of buildings you have, everybody's going to have the same. But when you draft a certain character into those places, you are going to get a certain action or a certain number of victory points, and they're going to play off of one another in a lot of cases. So this is a great little game where you can even do a little bit of take that if you were getting a lot of the knights trying to attack other people. But it's a great little game. It doesn't play very long at all, but one that I definitely recommend. My number 73, Majesty for the Realm. My next one, my number 72, is, I think, if I'm looking at my list here, it is my second highest Tiny Epic game, and that is Tiny Epic Dinosaurs. I really like Tiny Epic Dinosaurs. I like the whole... it's essentially kind of like Dinosaur Island in a tiny box. It really is a epic game inside of a tiny box where you are going to have this little card that shows your your area, and you are going to be building fences and putting different animals together, and you are trying to keep them all well fed, and you're trying to make sure they don't break out. And yeah, it's so great. And they have unique little wooden pieces and they're really tiny. But I mean, it is such a good game. And that is Tiny Epic Dinos, or Dinosaurs. My number 71 is a game that is kind of like Clue. For me, if you like Clue, this is the game that I would recommend checking out, and that is Awkward Guests. I love this whole kind of deduction where you are there's been a murder in the study of, I think his name is Mr. Walton, if I remember right. Horrible person, right, that was murdered. You were trying to figure out, because he had a little dinner party with all these guests there. You're trying to figure out who killed him, what room they started, like what they used, how they did it, what was their motive, all these kinds of things. And you have to kind of track these people through the buildings based on these cards. And the game comes with hundreds and hundreds of cards, because there are literally thousands of cases. So there's no way you'll ever play the same case twice in this game, because there are just so many combinations. And so I recommend getting the app for this one. But it is so fun, because you guys are going to be exchanging cards and trying to bury evidence so that people don't find out maybe some really good information that's going to help them solve the case. But then also, if you're not giving up good information, people might not want to exchange evidence or cards with you. So it is such a good game. I know they came out with a second it's the same concept, but they came out with another game very similar to this. My number 71, Awkward Guests. My number 70 is a game we actually just did a review on not too long ago, but we've had it for quite a while. Another Bruno Cathala game, and that is Ishtar. This is such a beautiful game. Another one that I think, is gorgeous on the board, but then also really backs it up with solid gameplay when you are trying to, going around this little rondel, getting these tiles and placing them out, trying to create your little flower gardens in order to control these fountains. And meanwhile, you're collecting these crystals and spending them to either plant trees or to buy these little upgrades or these skills that you can get in order to hopefully potentially get more points at the end of the game. A great game, one that I definitely think is underrated, and that is Ishtar. Number 69 is another 2021 game. If you can't tell already, I think 2021 is a great year of games. I've already been working on my top 10 games of 2021, but my number 69 is from Arcane Wonders, and that is Picture Perfect. This is so unique, where you have this dinner party and you are trying to place these different characters around the table in order to take a group photo, but each person has their own little envelope of preferences, and you are going to be trading these envelopes around and sharing kind of information to try and place these people around the table where they want to be. And there's a plant and a dog and there's kids, and it's just so interesting, because some people might not want their faces shown, or they might want to be standing next to a certain person, or maybe someone want to be around the table and others don't. Such a great little game. I know they're coming out with a 5 and 6 player expansion. This is also a game that we did a review with Nick and Vic as well, so please feel free to go check out that review. My number 69, Picture Perfect. My number 68 is my first restoration game on my list, and that is Stop Thief. This is also the first game on my list that has hidden movement. Such a great little game where you can even with the app, they added in where someone could actually play the thief. But before that, it was where everybody were these investigators trying to catch this thief that is breaking into banks and like jewelry stores and all this stuff to steal artifacts. And so you're using your app and you're listening to this thief who is walking around. They might be outside and you hear traffic, or they might break a window, or opening doors, and you are trying to figure out where they are at on this board that has all these different numbers, and you are trying to chase them down and catch them, and you're going to get money for catching them. And so, such a great game. I even like being able to play as the thief, and everybody has to come and hunt me down. My number 68, Stop Thief. All right. Sorry. My number 67. This is another game that we were introduced to from Nick and Vic, and one that is, again, on my list. A lot of the games they introduced me to become games on my list that I want to buy, and that is Santa Monica. So we were able to borrow this one from Nick and Vic and play it. I really, really like this game. I love the building up your beachfront and then trying to get workers or people, whether they're VIPs or whatever it is, to different areas, and you're going to be scoring points. And such a good game. I really, really like, because it's like, I won a lot of people, but then if you can't place them, you lose points. It's very thinky. I love the strategy that comes in this game. Santa Monica, great game from AEG, if I remember right. Yeah. My number 66 is a game that I got again because I thought maybe not right now, but sometime in the future, it would be a game that would be really exciting for my son and turns out to be a game that I really enjoy, that Samantha really likes, and even friends I've played with really like, and that is Fossilis, where you are pushing these rocks and sands and clay tiles around to uncover these bones that are under the ground that you are then going to use tweezers to pull out, because you are going to be collecting these bones for a fossil of different dinosaurs. So you have these dinosaur cards that you are trying to fulfill in order to get victory points. And meanwhile, there are events, and there's only so much plaster, so everybody kind of keeps their eyes on this plaster and how much is left in the game. But really, really exciting game. Great components, great theme, Fossilis. My number 65 is a game by Emerson Matsuuchi, and that is Century New World. Century New World is by far my favorite of the Century games. Or I know they also have, I believe they came out with the Gollum edition of this one recently as well. But I really like this worker placement, and you can even mix and match the games. If you have Century Eastern Wanderers or Century Spice Road, you can mix and match them, and they kind of add a whole new element to the game. So I really like this is the worker placement portion, or I guess iteration of the game. So my number 65, Century New World. My number 64 is one that the deluxe version is about to, I don't think it's quite ready to fulfill. They're still in production from their Kickstarter, but it is a game that is super hard to beat, but I always love to play it, and that is Robinson Crusoe. This is a game that I love to play solo. I love to play with others. I love the scenarios that are in it, and just how different the game can feel from, don't have to play the same scenario over and over and over again. But I just really, really like Robinson Crusoe, and so I'm super excited to get my hands on the minis and being able to actually build up that 3D Palisade. It's going to be so fun. I'm excited about the app, and it usually is a bear to learn, and I'm really hoping that their new way of being able to teach through this app is going to help kind of curve that a little bit easier and make the game a little bit more accessible to people. So my number 64, Robinson Crusoe. My number 63 is a dice game, and the only one of its kind on this list, and that is Dice Forge. Such a great game where you are literally pulling off sides of the dice and replacing them with other sides of the dice, and you are rolling them to get rewards, and then spending those rewards by going to different locations on the board, and even buy even better faces, and it has a great expansion as well. Such a good game, best insert in all of board games, in my opinion. I really love it. Of any that I have played, I guess I should say, as a caveat, Dice Forge, so quick, so easy, so fun and unique. Love that game. My number 62 is a cooperative game. This is probably the most unique and gorgeous board that I have ever played on, and that is Atlantis Rising. This is a great little cooperative worker placement game where you are trying to build up this portal essentially in order to leave the island before it completely floods, and you have these different events. And I love that you are literally flipping over pieces of the board, and the artwork is so gorgeous as you see the ocean coming in and just engulfing the island slowly but surely, and you're trying to be as productive as you possibly can on your turn in order to get the materials you need to build the components you need in order to rescue everybody and leave the island. So my number 62, Atlantis Rising. This is funny actually, because my number 61 also has to deal with Atlantis, and that is Survive. So again, Atlantis is sinking, only this time everybody has their own different meeples out on the board. And as the island is sinking, there are whales and sharks and sea monsters, and they are all trying to kind of take you out, whether the sharks are eating you or the whales are trying to capsize your boats. But you are trying to rescue them, and everybody else is trying to move those monsters around to foil your plan to where your guys don't get rescued. Because on the bottom of each of your meeples, there is a number ranging from 1 all the way up to 6, and that's how many points you receive if you are able to rescue that meeple and get them to the shore in safety. But yeah, I think it's just interesting that both of those Atlantis games ended up right next to each other on the list. So my number 61 is Survive. Number 60 is a newer game for us. We got it this year with the expansion, and one that I definitely think is going to be on Samantha's list, and that is Endangered. Endangered is a cooperative game where you are going to be working together in order to save an endangered animal species. In the base game, they had, tigers, and they had all these, and then they have the expansion where you have elephants and polar bears, and you have sea turtles, and you got condors, and you got pupfish, and you got there's a panda expansion, and there's just so many different scenarios, and you're playing different people that have their own unique abilities, and you're rolling these dice in order to take different actions, but it's cooperative, and you have these events that are creating destruction, and you're trying to convince these different countries to vote to save these endangered animals. And so we have never won the game, but it's one that we really, really enjoy. My number 60, Endangered. Let's see. We are on number 59. My number 59 is another game that takes place on an island. But in this island, you are trying to hunt down treasure and dig it up in order to win the game. And that is Tobago. This is not a game that will show up on Samantha's list. I will say that right now. But Tobago is such a great game where you're playing cards in order to narrow down your search of these treasures. And everybody is adding cards to the different colored treasures. So you have black cubes, white cubes, I think there's brown cubes, and I think there's another one I can't remember. But you are playing these cards to narrow down the search for these treasures. And then you're racing there to try and dig it up. And then you're going to be, depending on how many people helped locate that treasure, because they're going to have these little rows, compass tokens, they're going to get so much of the treasure when it gets dug up. But you have to be careful because there's also cursed treasure, which could cost you, but really nice components. There are some really cool tokens that you can go and get that will protect you against cursed treasure and everything, or give you extra actions, and that is Tobago. My number 58 is A classic for me, one that I will always keep a hold of, and one that is probably actually one of my most played games ever, and that is Splendor. Oh man, Space Cowboys did such a great job with this game, Splendor, where you are going to be getting these different gems in order to purchase cards, and you're building up this engine because you are trying to essentially recruit, or I guess get these nobles that want a certain number of different kind of gems, and you're racing to be the first to get, I think it's 15 points if I remember right, the first to get 15 points and you win the game. Such a great game, so intense, so easy to learn, but man, does it get thinky, and you are always consciously aware of what everybody else is going after, and it can get really cutthroat, and yeah, it gets intense sometimes. My number 58, Splendor. My number 57 is a new to the list. It's new this year. It is a 2021 game. And I had actually mentioned the game that came out at the exact same time as this one earlier. It was actually my number 99. So my number 57 is Whirling Witchcraft. Man, I like this game. This is definitely my favorite, I guess I could call it, Halloween themed game. Not that I really have that many that are high up on that whole list. I probably couldn't even give you a top 10 anyway. But Whirling Witchcraft, such a great game where you are going to be having your little workbench, and you're going to be using the cubes in order to fulfill recipes, in order to try and overload the person to your right and overload their workbench so that then you can get points. Super quick game. First to 5 points wins. It is so nice, and I like being able to have those little special unique asymmetrical abilities that people can get other than just the basic version of the game. Such a good game. Whirling Witchcraft looks beautiful with the little quadrant out on the board. It is such a good game. Whirling Witchcraft, my number 57. My number 56 is one that I think it has been dropping on the list, and I think it's just because it is such a big game now with all the different expansions that have come out, and it just is not necessarily one that I get super excited to play anymore, but it is super fun to play when I do get it out. I just don't get to play it very much. So this has dropped quite a bit, and that is Terraforming Mars. I know Terraforming Mars came out with essentially the card game edition of it, and honestly, I would probably prefer to play that version of this game. I didn't have them separate, they're kind of together. I would probably prefer to play the card game to this one, but I do like the whole planet and actually seeing what I'm building up. If I had the 3D stuff, that would probably even make it more exciting to play. But with all the different expansions, which you definitely don't need in order to enjoy the game, Terraforming Mars is my number 56. My number 55 is Istanbul. So this is an older game where you are moving around on this board, and you have assistants, so you can only move so far away, and you have to leave an assistant there. And you are trying to get these gems. So there's different locations, and you have this little like wheelbarrow that you can upgrade, so you can hold more stuff, and you're going around, and they have expansions, they have the letters, and they have coffee. It's such a good game, so thinky. I really like my number 55, Istanbul. My number 54 is the first game from Ryan Laukat. This is, I had played a game called Artifacts by Ryan Laukat, and I thought that was okay, but I hadn't really gotten into his big games, his Above and Below, Near and Far, and Now or Never. And so finally getting into this and being able to have that whole Atlas kind of book that you're going through and doing, it has a great balance of story and gameplay. And so my number 54 is Near and Far. really enjoy this game, really love the story component, really love the exploration as you're going out onto the board and you're building these camps. Such a great game. My number 54, Near and Far. Number 53 is a really fun game. I think this one will probably end up on Samantha's list, and that is Disney Villainous. This game I absolutely enjoy. I love how all of them feel like you are actually that Disney villain. They're very similar in playing, but their ways of winning are completely different. They feel like the characters that you're playing as. I do not lump this in with Marvel Villainous. I honestly did not enjoy Marvel Villainous. Yes, they are very similar, but I actually don't like that communal fate deck. Whereas Disney, you have your own fate deck, and I just like the Disney version way better. Such a great game. I probably need to do a video ranking my favorite Disney Villainous characters to play. So my number 53, Disney Villainous. Number 52, I just got an expansion not too long ago for this game. This is an older game, and that is Grand Austria Hotel. I really like this game. It's got a great little dice drafting mechanic where depending on the number, the dice that you take, you're going to be looking at the number that's going to correlate with a certain action, and depending on how many dice of that number there are, it's going to determine, how many times you can take that action. But you are trying to open up these rooms and get your guests fed and placed in a room in order to, score victory points. Such a really fun game. And then they just came out with the Let's Waltz expansion for the game. So fun. Really like this game. This is one that I know is a bit older, but still really great. If you haven't played it, definitely check that one out. And finally, the last one for this portion of the list, my number 51. This one has dropped quite a bit, and I will explain why further along, probably down the list. And that is Blood Rage. Blood Rage is my number 51. Such a great Eric Lang game. I know this is loved by so many different people. I love the simplicity of the game. It's a big, grandiose game. You have these beautiful miniatures. You're each a different Viking clan. You're able to recruit these monsters, and you have these ships. But such a good game where you are drafting cards, and you're going to be using these cards to fight over land and trying to pillage, and you're getting these tokens. And even if you're going and fighting over Yggdrasil, such a good game. So quick, so easy, so fun. Blood Rage is definitely my number 51. So that will finish up this 25 of my list. After this, Samantha is going to be joining me doing her top 50, and we'll start doing them in 10 increments. So if you didn't really like the whole 25 games at one time, I know it can be a little bit long, but I know those are probably the ones that people fast forward through the most. But thank you for sticking through and watching the video. Please let me know. Give me some of your thoughts on these games. What's a game that you think should or shouldn't be on the list? Or tell me ones that you think I might be interested in based on the ones that are in my list so far. So also please like, comment, subscribe, and click the little bell icon so you get a notification every single time we post a video. And we will see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching.